The first step to mitigate flood damage on a construction site is to understand the area and the watercourses surrounding it. Find out how far away each one is, and whether it has floods in the past. Then you can decide how to deal with the flood if it happens. Often, it is possible to be 50 miles from the nearest river, but this doesn't mean it won't flood. When dealing with a flooded construction site, you will need to assess the damage. You may have to repair or replace the materials that were damaged by floodwaters. If a lot of money is needed to fix the site, you can hire a third-party cleanup company to do the work for you. Make sure that you have a written agreement and that the resulting cleanup is done in a professional manner. The first step in water damage mitigation is to shut off the source. If it is a plumbing problem, the main shutoff valve may be inside the building or outside. If it is Mother Nature, the water damage could be even more extensive. Once the water has receded and has drained, you can begin the cleaning process. If you have contractors on board, ask them to cover your work site with tarps and shrink wrap. If your construction site has been flooded, don't panic. There are steps you can take to protect yourself, your team, and your property. The water pumps on your construction site can be used to pump water off the site. They will also be able to remove moisture from the site so that you don't have to worry about the cleanup. But you have to get all your employees and contractors to stay away from the site until the flood has subsided. If you've noticed flooding on a construction site, contact the local authorities to report the problem. Most cities have stormwater management divisions or similar groups that handle concerns related to flooding. Reporting the flood will help prevent further contamination and other problems with floodwaters. While floodwaters can be very dangerous, it's best to stay away from them until the flooding has cleared. In the meantime, try to avoid the flooded area as much as possible. Besides protecting the equipment and personnel on your construction site, you should also be aware of the water's hazards. If the construction site has poor drainage, heavy rains can flood the place and cause the debris to move. If the roof hasn't been finished, water can settle on it and make it hard to distinguish which parts are flooded and which ones are not. Regardless of the cause of the flood, a well-prepared construction site will protect your personnel and property from further damages. If your construction site is located near a river, you should do everything possible to evacuate the area. The most important thing to do is to make sure that everyone is safe and that no one is harmed. It is essential that your building is safe from sewage, and if you do not want your workers to be ill, it should be protected by a flood-proofing system. The most important thing to do is contact your insurance company immediately. Once the storm passes, it is important to clean up any debris that may have been spread. In addition to cleaning up debris, you should also document any damage and contact your insurance carrier. Wind damage is the most serious type of flood damage, and it affects masonry walls, framework, and roof coverings. In case the water level is too high, you can hire a professional to clean it up. There are several other practical mitigation strategies you can take to reduce flood damage. Ensure you have enough time to implement all necessary mitigation measures. If you're constructing a high-rise building, you may want to consider a temporary flood control strategy. You should also have a plan in place to minimize the risk of a disaster. The best way to mitigate the risks of flooding is to make sure you plan ahead.